my second video of the day, and this time I'm going to be focusing on Championship and a few EFL transfers. Now, like I said in the Premier League video, I might not make regular transfer updates. It depends on what you guys want. So that's why your comments are really important to me, not just for the kind of content you want me to make, but also just constructive criticism I really appreciate. So let's get straight into it, starting in the Championship. And before I talk about Championship transfers, I have to just acknowledge Cardiff City. They are on an absolute mad one. It's like towards the end of June, and already they signed 8 players. So they've signed Callum O'Dowda, Ebu Adams, Alnick, the goalkeeper, Ollie Tanner, Jamal Collins, Vontae Daly-Campbell, Marlon Romeo, Andy Rinomhota, who's about to sign, and Ryan Allsop. Actually, that's 9 players, and it could be a 10th with Gareth Bale. So Cardiff City are just absolutely going wild in the transfer window. And in all fairness, they needed to, because the players they released Bakuna, Kieran Brown, Aidan Flint, Murphy, Marlon Pack, Smithies, Carvazell and Will Volks. So it showed they released a number of players, really experienced players as well. And they've now brought in a lot younger players as well. So I think for me at the moment, Cardiff City are winning the transfer window, especially if they sign Gareth Bale. Imagine if they do that. On a side note with Gareth Bale, I can totally understand why he wants to play for Cardiff, because he can be quite flexible in his contract and he knows that he'll get game time there. He's playing for his hometown club back in Wales before the World Cup. But if I was him, surely he'd go to a team like Spurs, because yes, he wouldn't get as much game time at Spurs than he would at Cardiff, but he certainly still has the quality for the Premier League, and he's more likely to win a trophy at Spurs. Why doesn't he just play for Spurs, then after the World Cup play for Cardiff as his last club? But you know, you can't begrudge him, to be fair, because he has all the money in the world. He's won everything within the game. He's still a Spurs icon, even though he didn't win a trophy there. And he hasn't played for his hometown club yet. So fair play Gareth Bale and fair play Cardiff, because, you know, even if they don't sign Gareth Bale this summer, they've still had a brilliant transfer window so far. In terms of transfers then, outside of Cardiff City, we have Kane Wilson signing for Bristol City. Of course, Kane Wilson coming from Forest Green Rovers, who as a club had a fantastic season, but Kane Wilson was arguably one of the best players in League Two. So that's an excellent signing for Bristol City on a free transfer as well. Then you have Aidan Flint going to Stoke City, one of those released Cardiff players going to Stoke. I think that's a relatively decent signing, because yes, Flint isn't the greatest defensively, but you can just see Flint scoring at least 3 headers for Stoke this season, probably as well against Cardiff City. And then Josh Laurent going to Stoke City as well. I think that's a phenomenal signing. Josh Laurent, while he was at Reading, he was such a consistent performer. He didn't get injured. Defensively, he's excellent. His interceptions are brilliant. And then going forward as well, he's got a few decent passes on him as well. So it's a 3-year contract. And if you actually look at Josh Laurent's career, wherever he's been at a club, he's always run down his contract and then moved on. I can genuinely see Laurent playing for a Premier League club by the end of that 3 years, or certainly at the very least being Premier League quality, because, like I said, he's such a consistent performer and he's always improved his career. Being at Shrewsbury, playing for a good amount of games there, then going to Reading, and within 2 years playing over 60 games, very consistent performer at Reading, and then now joining Stoke. It's an excellent signing, and I think Stoke will be right up there, because people forget that Stoke still have the likes of Suter in defence and Campbell, who both on their day are some of the best Championship players. So I think Stoke will be right up there in the Championship next season. And I know loads of people say that every season, but their squad is so good, surely they have to. Certainly if they don't start well, Michael O'Neill will be under massive pressure. But like I said, I think Laurent is a really good signing. Speaking of Reading, in case you don't know, I'm a Reading fan. I'm slightly worried going into this season, because Reading basically can't spend any money on transfers, or if they can, it's got to be approved by the EFL. It's basically going to be loanees and free transfers, and Reading's squad is so thin as it is. They've released so many players. The one key thing I have, though, going into the season and hope, is the fact that Reading have got so many good young players now signed on new deals. Tom Holmes signed a new deal, and then you have loads of young players, the likes of Nelson Abbey, Camara, and also Rashawn Scott and Claudio Asaro, all signing new deals, which is really exciting from a Reading fan's point of view. And then Andy Adam at right back. I'm surprised, but pleasantly surprised, that he's decided to stay at Reading, because he's a really consistent key performer for Reading at right back. Other notable EFL transfers, you have Alfie Doherty joining Luton. I think that's an excellent signing because they needed to sign a fullback in that position, so that's a brilliant signing for Luton. Freddie Woodman joining Preston, I think that's a really good move for him personally because he needed that consistent game time and he just simply wasn't going to get that at Newcastle, given that Newcastle now have new owners, Ashley's out, and they've just signed Nick Pope and they have Dubravka anyway. So I think that's a really good move for Freddie Woodman. And also given the fact that Preston had Everson in goal, who was a really good consistent performer, but has now gone back to Leicester and will probably fight for the number one spot actually at Leicester. So Freddie Woodman's a really good signing for Preston's point of view and from Woodman's point of view himself. Then you have Cauley Woodrow going to Luton, a really good attacking signing. I think he was always going to leave Barnsley because he was one of their better players. So the fact that Luton have been able to pick him up, I think it's a really sensible transfer from Luton's point of view. Then you have Jake Clark-Salter joining QPR. Again, he was a really good, consistent performer at Coventry, so I think that's a really good signing from QPR's point of view. And to pick up again from a free transfer, I think that's a really big theme going into this summer transfer window, especially for EFL clubs. There's going to be so many free transfers, and it just makes sense for clubs because they don't have to pay a transfer fee, so in COVID it's cheaper, but also from a player's point of view, they get more control on where they go because they're a free agent and they're going to receive more money, as will their agent. So I think that's going to be a massive theme for this window, just loads of free signings. And then two of the biggest free transfers that have happened, both to West Brom, John Swift going from Reading to West Brom, and then Jed Wallace going from Millwall to West Brom. Both, in my opinion, are very, very good signings. John Swift, for a lot of his Reading career, was injury prone, but for last season just gone, he was excellent, up there in terms of top playmakers, assistant and assists in the Championship. On his day, when Swift's not injured, he's such a silky footballer and a really, really exciting player to watch. And then Jed Wallace as well, again, right up there in terms of assists and as a playmaker in the Championship, he's excellent. Normally a winger, but can also play in that number 10 role. But I imagine for West Brom, he will be playing out wide, whipping balls into the box. So West Brom, they massively, massively struggled to create chances, especially during the second half of the season. So the fact they've now got Swift and Wallace is a massive boost for them, even though their manager is Steve Bruce, who isn't exactly known for his brilliant attacking football. It's still fantastic signings for West Brom. Then we have Casey Palmer going to Coventry, and I think that's a really sensible signing from Coventry's point of view because he'll take the pressure off the likes of Callum O'Hare, Gustav Hamer and Gokares and Matt Godden, who themselves, even though they are strikers, are very good at creating chances for themselves and their teammates. Then in terms of newly promoted sides to the Championship and also League One transfers, Rotherham, there's been a lot of action from there, but also key departures. Michael Smith and Michael Ihekwe. It was massive talk going into the summer as to whether they'll sign new deals, but they've both gone to Sheffield Wednesday, which I find fascinating, obviously given that Rotherham are now a Championship club and Sheffield Wednesday, even though yes, are traditionally and historically a bigger club, they're in League One. So the fact that both those the Michaels from Rotherham have moved to Sheffield Wednesday is very interesting. I think from Rotherham's point of view, they'll just be happy now from the fans' point of view that the saga is over and they can move on. But for Sheffield Wednesday, they're both excellent signings for the division, especially Michael Smith. I'm not sure Michael Smith is good enough for the Championship, but certainly in League One, he's excellent at holding the ball up, bringing others into play, holding the ball up into the channel, and then scoring goals. I mean, last season was his best goal-scoring form in a season in League One. So I think from Sheffield Wednesday's point of view, it's an excellent signing, Michael Smith. And then Michael Ihekwe is a just dominant centre-back in League One. So I expect Sheffield Wednesday to be right up there in League One. But for Rotherham, they've already replaced Michael Smith with Tom Eaves, which I think Tom Eaves is an upgrade on Michael Smith. But is he a Championship striker? I don't know. I guess from Rotherham's point of view, he's an upgrade, but on a 3-year deal, that's quite significant for Rotherham, for Tom Eaves. But for Tom Eaves' point of view, it's a good move for him because he's getting Championship football. It's a 3-year contract, which post-COVID, I think is very secure for him. But for Rotherham's point of view, like I said, it's an upgrade on Michael Smith, but enough of an upgrade? I'm not so sure personally. I'm not that convinced. And then two more key transfers within League One. You have Marlon Pack going to Portsmouth, which I think is a phenomenal sign and an excellent signing from Pompey's point of view. He was still a really decent performer at Cardiff City. He's got tons of championship experience. So the fact that Pompey have been able to pick him up is excellent. And then finally, you have Nathan Holland going to MK Dons. Again, a brilliant signing. He was a really good performer for Oxford United. So the fact that MK Dons have picked him up is brilliant. And I think he'll kind of be a sort of replacement for Scott Twine, who's looking like he's going to go to Burnley, which will be a brilliant signing for Burnley. But I don't think Nathan Holland will be an out-and-out replacement, but he'll just help take the burden off the fact that Scott Twine will leave. But for me, it just solidifies my belief that in League One, it's kind of now two leagues. You've got a B-Tech Championship quality teams, like the top half of the League One, and then you've got the bottom half of League One where you've got some really small teams, but teams that are doing so well to compete in that league. So yeah, I think League One is going to be a really fascinating competitive league to follow next season. But that's my quick roundup of the championship transfers that have taken place. Let me know what the kind of content you want me to make in the comments below, and let me know what you think of the transfers that have happened in the championship so far. And also let me know as to whether you think Gareth Bale will join Cardiff and your reaction to that. So please like, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Thank you very much.